Most businesses have no idea why their customer drops off during the buying process. And I've worked with startups, agencies, and even enterprise teams who thought they had their customer journey nailed until we mapped it out. And what we found always shocked them. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to build a customer journey, understand the stages step by step, and explain why most people get it wrong, even if they think they're doing it right. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to plug gaps, stop drop-off points, and create an experience that actually keeps people coming back to purchase more and gets them from first click to a long-term customer. So if you're tired of having customers drop off like most business owners are, hit the subscribe button and watch this video till the end. So in order to master the customer journey, you have to understand the 3 stages. And there's a lot of steps that go into each of these stages, which we'll cover in this video, but you have to understand the overarching themes. The first one is traffic, right? There's a million different ways to drive traffic for your business, but the goal is always the same. The goal of traffic is to get more eyeballs focused on your business, right? You can do it through social media, SEO. There's a million different options, which we'll cover here soon, but you have to understand the overarching theme. The only goal of traffic is to get more eyeballs. The second stage is your destination. And the only goal of a destination is to convert your audience. Most people think that you need a 30-step funnel, some super complex website with 20 different pages. But if you really think to the actual goal of what you're trying to do, you can get laser beam focused on exactly what should be on those pages. And remember, the goal is to convert your audience. So the traffic drives people to your destination. What are they going to see at that destination to get them to become a customer? Now, the third stage is your post-purchase, which I personally think is the most important stage. And I see 90% of business owners getting this wrong, which we will cover at the end of this video. So make sure to stay tuned for the post-purchase, because the goal of the post-purchase is to retain your audience. Right? It's to get them to come back and start buying more of your products, which is the most powerful tool that you can use for your business. So let's jump into it. The first step is traffic. And like I said, there's a million different ways to drive traffic to your business. You can do SEO, you can do blogs, you can do social media, you can do word of mouth marketing, emails, cold outreach, you can run ads. There's a lot of different ones, but the biggest thing where I see people mess up is they try to do all of them instantly. And especially when you're a startup, you have to be able to choose one and stick with it. And the analogy I always give is if I told you you had to read these 5 books, do you think you would retain more information and get through them faster if you read all 5 books simultaneously or if you read one book at a time? Well, the answer is always read one book at a time. You're going to retain more knowledge and you're going to know how to go through it, right? So it's the same thing with driving traffic. So one channel and one outcome. Make sure to choose one channel and master it. You got to choose one thing to do and master it until you start driving the traffic before you branch out to something else. So the key for traffic is you need to match the intent with the actual channel. So you have to understand who people are and what audience you're targeting, right? If you're running ads or posting content, they're cold audience, right? They don't know anything about you. They know nothing about your business. So cold audience needs clarity. They need stories. They need problem solutions. They need the why, right? You need to explain something to give them clarity about your business. Now, warm audience could be something more like word of mouth or, out and about traffic. Maybe if you've done a campaign to warm your audience up, but they need proof, right? They need testimonies. They need success stories. They need case studies. They need something in order to prove that this is real, right? So now you've given them clarity. They know that they like the product. Now you need to show them success stories. And a hot lead, that's someone that has gotten the proof, pretty much ready to buy. They just need an offer, right? I see way too many people take the hot leads and start them at the cold section. A hot lead doesn't need more clarity. They don't need more testimonies. They just need an offer. You need to tell them how to purchase and what's included. So that is very, very key to understand traffic. And each one of these different traffic sources has a different audience. So you need to understand which traffic source has which audience. Social media, cold. Word of mouth, hot. Blogs, outreach, that's usually warm. Now, the next key is capture and simplify. If you don't own your data, you don't own your audience. You have to have a surefire way to capture information, emails, phone numbers, names, right? And you need to reduce friction. So I see so many people when they're starting a business, they don't even have an opt-in form. I could go through their whole website and there's no way for me to give them information. So you have to be able to do that. And it's always directly correlated to the value you provide. So just like it says here, you don't need a 30-step complex funnel. You need a page that has a form and value. Why would I give you my information? Well, it's always in exchange for something of value. So you have to understand your customer persona and what they actually need and provide it to them in the form of opt-in. So go ahead down below right now, comment which channel you're going to choose to start with. This is very important. Make sure that comment is the channel you want to focus on and master. So now that you've locked in your traffic source, you know where your attention is coming from. And more importantly, you're focused on one that actually converts. That alone is going to put you ahead of 90% of businesses that are trying to do everything all at once. But at the end of the day, attention doesn't pay the bills. Conversion does. So let's shift gears. In this section, I'm going to walk you through how to turn attention and awareness into real revenue without relying on a 30-step funnel, duct taping together different softwares, or shady tactics. So let's build the path that actually gets people to buy. So in the destination, you're going to hear a million different things from a million different people about how to optimize it. But you always need to think back to the goal. The goal is to convert your audience. Does your audience want a 30-step funnel? Probably not. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the key is you need to do a friction audit, because the more friction you have in your buying process, the less conversion rate that you have. So first one is the slow load time. And there's a stat, and I think it's even lower than when I put this together, but less than 10 seconds, if your website doesn't load in the first 10 seconds, everyone drops off. I think it's like a 95% drop-off rate, and I think it's even been lower. I think it's closer to 7 seconds. So if your website doesn't load fast, it doesn't matter how your landing page looks. It doesn't matter about the design, the video, the copy. If it doesn't load fast, it's not going to convert. So do a friction audit. Make sure that you figure out your load time. The next one is a confusing CTA. I see this all the time on top tier funnels, right? But the question that you have to ask yourself when you're writing a call to action is, do they know if they click this button, they're going to see the price? Because there's certain buttons that I see on websites where I click on it expecting to know a certain answer, and then it immediately sends me to a checkout page. You have to make sure, and if you understand psychology, when someone clicks that, they have to know that they're going to see the price, or they're going to be caught off guard and exit out of your website. So on a call to action, you have to make sure that they're willing. So like purchase now, examples like that. Or if you want one that's confusing, is unlock these resources. Well, if I click unlock these resources and I immediately see a price tag associated with it, it's going to be a little bit hard. And the next one is the info overload. Now, what you have to ask yourself is, what is the minimum viable product of what they need to know, right? I see way too many funnels and landing pages spending tens of hours and 40 different scrolls of information about their product. Nobody is ever going to read that, ever. I have never read through any full funnel on something. Some people may like it, but the majority of people want something quick, concise, and to the point. So do a friction audit. The next one is your intent continuity. This is very important because, for an example, if you run an ad, right, that's your traffic source, you're running ads, and it says a free audit. Click here to get a free audit. And when they click, they immediately see a $1,000 upsell. Well, they're never going to convert. You just lied to them. So how are they ever going to trust that your product is actually good if you just blatantly lied to them from the traffic source to the actual landing page? So you want to make sure that it's actually the same. So if you run an ad that says free audit, The landing page headline should be click here to get your free audit or opt in to get your free audit. It should be the same. There should be continuity. Now, the next one is your offers, right? And I could sit here and explain offers and maybe I'll do another video, but just read this book. $100 Million Offers, Alex Hormozi, absolutely phenomenal book. I could explain offers, but why would I if this book exists? And it's absolutely perfect at what it does. So just go ahead and read that book. I think it's like $1 on Amazon or something. So read that book if you want to understand offers, but that's another key to scale. So now your sales flow is frictionless. Go through the key steps that I mentioned and you'll understand what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, that's not where the real money is. That may make you a little bit of money, but what happens after the conversion is where real lifelong money is made. And this is the part that most people get wrong. Most people, even if you master traffic and you master the conversion, you always have to keep selling on a month-to-month basis until you perfect this next system. And this is what I view as the most important system that you should have in your business because it is exponential in the amount that you can grow. So let's jump into it. So like I said, this is the most important step for most business owners, and this is where they get it wrong, the post-purchase. And you have to remember the goal of your post-purchase is to retain your audience. And the key is onboarding wins. You have to make sure that they immediately get sent a confirmation. Now, sounds like elementary school, but you'd be surprised how many products I've signed up to that don't give me a confirmation that I just made a purchase. And it immediately creates confusion. But if you send a confirmation immediately, no wait time, no nothing, immediately send a confirmation, it eliminates confusion. The next one is a welcome. You want to make sure that they feel a part of the company and a part of the family and that what purchase they just made is going to be worth it. And that is the goal of the welcome, right? And it needs to be immediate. You need to send this out immediately after they purchase because as soon as someone purchases, they get buyer's remorse. As soon as someone gives you money, they immediately think that it's a bad decision. So you have to eliminate that immediately or you're going to get massive drop off. So the welcome videos that I always make is very simple. Welcome to the family. Here's why what you just did is beneficial, and here's how it's going to change your life. Very simple welcome, but you'd be surprised how far that goes. And then you have to give them next steps because unless it's, a certain product, like maybe selling a roof where you just have to show up and build it, the next steps are always important. You have to tell them what to do next or they're not going to do anything. They get analysis paralysis. They just bought something that is going to be confusing. And if they don't have clear, actionable steps on exactly what to do, they're going to get confused and they're ultimately going to cancel. Now, key number 2 is life cycle mapping. So many people don't understand their actual customer life cycle, and it's very, very important to understand. So the question you need to ask yourself is how long does it usually take for people to fall off? And where in the journey is that, right? And then the other question is, where do you get the most engagement? Is it within the first week where people are reaching out to you more? Is it within the first month, 3 months, etc.? So now you have to insert key touch points in those areas. So example, if after 6 weeks, you get the most churn, right? Most people cancel after 6 weeks and you understand that. Well, now 5 weeks into their journey, you should send them an email asking what they need help with, right? Because now okay, at 6 weeks, they're going to cancel more than likely. So at 5 weeks, I need to be extra adamant on sending them emails to get them help and to keep them going longer. It's very, very important. So when you understand your life cycle, you can understand exactly where to put in emails or touch points to help eliminate confusion. Now, the next one is post-purchase systems, right? You don't need a new funnel or offer to grow. You need to systematize what happens with the first one, right? If you're manually sending out emails every single time you get a sign up, it's going to spend way too much time and it's not automated, so you can't scale. So you need a deep understanding of your customer, why they signed up, what they're trying to fix, what is their timeline, and how much time a day do they have to dedicate to your product. If you can't 100% confidently answer those questions about your customer, you need to do more research about your customer. And I want to share with you guys a quick hack that dropped our churn rate from 10%. We had a 10% churn rate and we made it a 1% churn rate in a month. which is crazy. And we've maintained a 1% churn rate for the last year. And it was a very simple hack. As soon as someone signed up, we sent them an assessment. Took 3 to 5 minutes, wasn't too much time, but we asked them all of the questions that we needed to know. Example, these questions, right? Why did you sign up? What are you trying to fix? What is your timeline? And we asked them all of these questions in this assessment, and then we studied their answers. We gathered insights, and we put them on a path based on their exact answers. So it allowed us to custom tailor their experience of our product to exact goals that they were trying to accomplish. Not goals that I wanted to accomplish, because everyone's different. So for example, we had a question on there about your motives. Why were you motivated to sign up? And we had a list of all the different motivations. So example, if they chose family, their motivation for signing up was family, our messages that we sent out were geared towards their family. So instead of saying, hey, imagine how much money you're going to make, well, their motivation wasn't money in the first place. So we gear our messages to imagine how much more time you would have with your family if you did XYZ. Now think about that for a second. When you receive that, it is custom tailored to your experience exactly. So now I want to show you live action what this actually looks like when it's fully built out. So I just jumped over to our actual Miro board for a company, and this is what we're doing, right? And it looks very complex because it is. We've spent a lot of time developing this, but you can see the 3 stages distinctly. What is our traffic? So our traffic was right here, right? This section right here. We had, all these different traffic sources. Then this was our destination in our post-purchase. So like, where did they go? Here's our destination. Here's what happened if they opted in because we gathered their information. And then you'll notice immediately that this is post-purchase. This is how in-depth we went on retention as opposed to a couple steps on traffic, right? So as a business, we focus almost 90% of all of our efforts into retention because that's our biggest marketing effort. If they have a good experience, they will share that experience with you, which is very, very powerful. And it's more importantly, they'll share it with others. So now you have the full blueprint. You understand how to attract the right people by mastering one traffic channel at a time. You know how to convert them with clean, friction-free paths of purchase. And you've seen how to keep them, the most important part, with onboarding, automations, and retention systems that scale without all of the chaos. And most people stop at the first sale, but you won't, because you now have the clear map. You understand the stages: traffic, destination, and retention, laid out until the end. So here's your move. Pick one section from today and go implement it. Not all 3, not someday. Pick one, build it, test it, and that's how you get momentum. And momentum compounds. And if this helped you think sharper on how to scale with no fluff, no guru tactics, hit the subscribe button. This channel's built for operators. Real strategy, real systems, no BS, and we go deep like this every single week. So hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification for all of our new videos, and we will see you in the next one.